Polly wants to simplify. Polly wants to simplify. Let's simplify some rational expressions. What do you do? What do you do? So the first thing you're going to do is you are going to factor both the numerator and denominator. Now, this is a little side note. When you factor, remember, you can do the big X. You can do grouping. Don't forget difference of squares. And don't forget always the ever famous GCF. Okay? After you factor, everything will be in parentheses. So it's going to look something like this times this. Where's my the parenthesis? Over something like this. Okay? You're going to have parentheses. So the next step is to cancel like factors. Okay, now like factors have to be the exact same on top as the bottom. So for example, if this was x plus 5 on top and there was an x plus 5 on the bottom, you could cancel those. Never can cancel with plus signs outside of the parentheses, so you can't cancel till it's all multiplication. Then the last step, the one you're going to hate, you have to find and state the excluded values. Okay, to do that, you set each factor in the denominator not equal to 0, and you solve for x. So you find the values for x that cannot work, and we'll talk about that when we look at some problems. So if you need to pause to finish copying that, pause, otherwise I'm moving on. Okay, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? Okay, now here's the nice thing about simplifying rational expressions 1, which is today's video. Everything's already going to be factored. How do I know, is it factored? It will be factored. It will be considered factored if there are no plus or minus signs outside parentheses. So if you look at the numerator up here, you've got 2 times x minus 5, 2 times x plus 5. The x minus 5 is in parentheses, the x plus 5 is in parentheses. Parentheses are like a bond of friendship. They must stay together. So what we're going to do is say, do any of those factors are thing being multiplied, are they the same on the top and the bottom? The 2 is the same on the top and the bottom, so we're going to cancel those. That's step 2, cancel like factors. So what do we have left? We have x times x minus 5 over x plus 5. We can't cancel anything else. Some people might say, but there's an x on top and the x on the bottom. True, but they are not like factors because that x plus 5 has to stay together, that x minus 5 has to stay together. The stuff in the parentheses cannot be separated. You are best friends. You stay together, together. Okay, then the part I told you were going to love, stating the excluded values. All right, excluded values are values that you cannot have because they make the denominator 0. What happens if the 0's on the bottom, undefined, clap, clap. If the 0's on the bottom, undefined, clap, clap. If the 0's on the top, then a 0's what you got. If the 0's on the bottom, undefined, clap, clap. So what this means is these are the values of x or a or p or q, whatever variable you have, that makes the denominator 0. So you should actually do these before you factor or before you cancel. So the first, okay, my husband just asked me an extremely inappropriate question and I'm ignoring him. The first factor is 2. You would say 2 cannot equal 0. Well, that's true. 2 cannot equal 0, so who cares? Then you have x plus 5 cannot equal 0. We're going to solve for x by subtracting 5, and we come up with x cannot equal negative 5. Here's why. If we put negative 5 in there, in the bottom, 2 times negative 5 plus 5, that's 2 times 0, which is 0 on the bottom, undefined. Clap, clap. So let's go to the next problem. Everything's already factored. Whoop, whoop. and then we're just going to look for like factors. When you have parentheses, the entire parenthesis must be exactly the same. So I have an entire x plus 6 and an entire x plus 6, so I cancel them. Now you have to be careful when you cancel, because I shouldn't cancel first, honestly. I should find my excluded values first. I'm going to change that in the next slide. We're going to change it up, people. This is your simplified answer. That's your answer. The question is, what are my excluded values? So I can say 2 can't equal 0. Yeah, who cares? And I can say x plus 6 can't equal 0. Subtract the 6. X cannot equal negative 6. That's my excluded value. Again, if I put it in the denominator, I get 2 times 0 in the denominator. I get 0, which is undefined. Plop, plop. Okay, so on this one, look, he's giving me the evil eye. Yeah, come on, lady, do it, lady. Yeah, yeah. What are the excluded values? Yeah, yeah. What are they? What are they? Let's find those first. Let's find the excluded values before we cancel. When you're doing the excluded values, you do not care about the numerator at all. We only care about the denominator. So that was supposed to be denominator. I missed a syllable. So 5x minus 2 cannot equal 0. I'm going to solve this. How do we solve this? We solve it just like we learned how to solve in, I don't know, 5th grade, 6th grade, somewhere along the line. So x cannot equal 2/5. So we're going to put that down here in our cannot equals. If I take 5 times 2/5 and subtract 2, which is this first one, that gives me 2 minus 2, which makes the denominator 0. Bad. That's bad. My other excluded value, I'm going to say 2x plus 1 can't equal 0. I'm going to subtract 1. 2x can't equal negative 1. I'm going to divide by 2. X can't equal negative 1/2. That's my other one. Here's why. 2 times negative 1/2 plus 1. That's negative 1 plus 1. That's 0. That's bad. That's bad. So now that I've done the excluded values, I'm going to look at the whole thing. Do I have any like factors that cancel? On the top, I've got a 3x minus 4. Nope, I don't have one of those on the bottom. On the top, I've got a 2x plus 4. Nope, I don't have one of those on the bottom. So guess what? Nothing happens. That is my simplified answer. Oh, that was boring. But weren't the excluded values fun? Yes, yes, he said they were fun. Yep, they were fun. Polymon's fun. Polymon's fun. All right, so let's do the excluded values. We'll call him the EV. Oh, that's like my name. EV. Only looking at the bottom. First factor is 5. 5 can't equal 0. Yep, that's very true. Second factor is h plus 3. So h plus 3 can't equal 0. So h can't be negative 3. Why, you say? Because if I put negative 3 in here, negative 3 plus 3 is 0. 0 times anything is 0. 0 on the bottom is undefined. Clap, clap. All right, then we have h minus 7 can't equal 0. Solve it by adding 7. H can't equal 7. Those are my 2 excluded values. Now, go back up here. Do I have any factors that can be canceled? 15 is my first factor. Oh, look, there's a factor of 5. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 15 3 times. The next thing that I see is this entire h plus 3. It has to stay together. There's another entire h plus 3 on the bottom, so I cancel those. So now what I do is just say, what do I have left over? I've got a 3 left over on top. I've got a 1, and I've got an h minus 7. Probably not going to put the 1 there just because it looks funny. So I have 3 over h minus 7. Simplified. Done. Move on. Booyah, says the little carrot. Polly wants a carrot. Polly wants a... No, they don't want carrots. They want crackers. What am I doing? All right. Here's the denominator. P squared cannot equal 0. There's a p squared. If I take the square root and put a plus or minus the square root, p cannot equal plus or minus 0. Well, guys, there is no such thing as plus 0 or minus 0. There's just 0. So p can't equal 0. Okay, so now let's go back and look at our factors. First factor is p squared. It's not in parentheses, but it's the thing being multiplied. There's another p squared on the bottom. Cancel them. All I have left here is p plus 1. It's over 1, but that's a waste of my time. All right, last slide. Okay, this is actually a simplifying rational expressions. Everything's factored, everything's being multiplied. But you know what it really is in disguise? Oh, what is it in disguise? In disguise, he tells you it is just an exponent problem. So anything, first of all, we have to, okay, now my husband's putting dishes in the dishwasher. He does not understand recording a video. Noisy, noisy boy. Ooh, secret word. My husband's a noisy boy. He's a noisy boy. All right. He doesn't know that this is all about parents either. So, looking at the denominator, a squared cannot equal 0. We take the square root. A cannot equal 0. And b cannot equal 0. If either one of those is 0, we get 0 times 0, which is 0. Now we're just looking at canceling. We've just got a 3. Where are there more a's? Up on top. How many more? 1. Where are there more b's? Up on top. How many more? 4. Boom, boom, boom. We are done. Bada bing, bada boom. There are no checkpoints in this unit because if your notes are filled in, you watch the video. Good day, Governor.